this time war broke out in the region. King Amraphel of Babylonia, King Arioch of Elasar, King Kedorlaomer of Elam, and King Tidal of Goyim fought against King Bera of Sodom, King Bersha of Gomorrah, King Shinab of Admah, King Shemeber of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, also called Zoar. For 12 years they had been subject to King Kedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled against him. 1 year later, Kedorlaomer and his allies arrived and defeated the Rephates at Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzites at Ham, the Emites at Shaveh-Kiriathaim, and the Horites at Mount Seir, as far as El Paran at the edge of the wilderness. The victorious invaders then plundered Sodom and Gomorrah and headed for home, taking with them all the spoils of war and the food supplies. They also captured Lot, Abram's nephew who lived in Sodom, and carried off everything he owned. But one of Lot's men escaped and reported everything to Abram the Hebrew, who was living near the oak grove belonging to Mamre the Amorite. When Abram heard that his nephew Lot had been captured, he mobilized the 318 trained men who had been born into his household. Then he pursued Kedorlaomer's army until he caught up with them at Dan. There he divided his men and attacked during the night. Kedorlaomer's army fled, but Abram chased them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. Abram recovered all the goods that had been taken, and he brought back his nephew Lot with his possessions, and all the women and other captives. After Abram returned from his victory over Kedorlaomer and all his allies, the king of Sodom went out to meet him in the valley of Shaveh, that is, the king's valley. And Melchizedek, the king of Salem and a priest of God Most High, brought Abram some bread and wine. Melchizedek blessed Abram with this blessing: "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who has defeated your enemies for you." Then Abram gave Melchizedek a tenth of all the goods he had recovered. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give back my people who were captured, but you may keep for yourself all the goods you have recovered." Abram replied to the king of Sodom, "I solemnly swear to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will not take so much as a single thread or sandal thong from what belongs to you. Otherwise you might say, I am the one who made Abram rich. I will accept only what my young warriors have already eaten, and I request that you give a fair share of the goods to my allies, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre."
All right, today we're diving into a story that, on the surface might seem like one you've heard before. It's the rescue of Lot by his uncle, Abram, later known as Abraham. But trust me, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. We're going deep into Genesis chapter 14 to uncover some pretty fascinating details.
Yeah, it's one of those stories that's got it all, kings, battles, a daring rescue. And even throws in some theological curveballs that really make you think. It reminds us that these figures, these patriarchs, they were just living out some abstract religious narrative. I mean, this was a complex world that could get pretty violent.
Right. Talk about setting the stage, huh? It's like, forget the scrolls. This is ancient history meets Game of Thrones. We're talking shifting alliances, power struggles.
Exactly. And I think we often get so caught up thinking about Abram, in the context of his spiritual journey, his faith. But then this chapter comes along and bam, it shows us this other side of him. This is Abram as a power player in the geopolitics of his day.
Yeah, because you don't exactly picture a shepherd leading a military operation, but here we are. So, just to lay it out, Abram's nephew, Lot, he gets caught in the middle of this conflict. These four kings, Amraphel, Arioch,
Kedorlaomer and Tidal.
Oh, right. They decide they're going to wage war in the Valley of Siddim. And this wasn't just some little border skirmish either, right? These guys were the heavy hitters of their time.
Oh, yeah. The text makes it clear they had this whole coalition going on. They were basically running the show for years before this rebellion pops up.
So serious power dynamics at play. And poor Lot's just trying to, live his life, and suddenly he's caught in the crossfire. But here's where it gets really interesting, because Abram, he doesn't just sit back and, send good vibes. He snaps into action, gathers 318, that's 318, for those keeping score at home, trained men from his own household, his own personal army, basically, and sets out to rescue Lot.
And that detail about the 318 men, that's not just some throwaway line. That's huge because it tells us so much about who Abram was. This wasn't just some shepherd tending his flocks on the hillside. He was wealthy, he had influence, and clearly some serious military experience under his belt if he could command that kind of force.
It's like finding out your quiet librarian neighbor is actually a black belt ninja master or something, It makes you wonder what else you don't know about them.
Absolutely. It challenges all our assumptions about who we think this guy was.
So Abram, with his 318, they're off on this rescue mission, right? But it wasn't just this desperate, charge in blind and hope for the best kind of thing. What gets me is the strategy involved. It really speaks to Abram's, strategic brilliance.
Oh, absolutely. The text even mentions he divided his forces and, get this, attacked at night. I mean, it tells me this was carefully planned out. This was a calculated operation, not just, let's go get Lot back.
Right. And he goes all the way from Dan to Hobah. I mean, look at a map. That's not a quick trip.
No, that's some serious ground covered.
Yeah. It speaks to a mind that's, thinking several steps ahead. And that's not just about faith. That's about, serious tactical thinking. And the best part, not only does he pull this daring rescue off, but he recovers everything. And I mean everything. People, possessions, livestock. Abram even gets Lot's favorite houseplant back, probably. The guy cleans up. Talk about making a point.
Right. Abram definitely knows how to make an entrance, A&D, and exit. But yeah, you make a good point. This victory, I mean, it could have gone to his head. Think about it. He's proven himself as a leader, a strategist, a warrior even. But it's what happens next that really gets me. Because this is where we meet Melchizedek.
Yeah. King A&D priest. You don't just bump into that at the local synagogue. What's the significance of a dual role like that?
It's super unusual, especially for that time period. I mean, what we know about ancient religious structures back then, this doesn't really fit the mold. But that's Melchizedek for you. He embodies this sort of spiritual authority that honestly even predates the Jewish priesthood as we understand it. Like he represents something way older, something more, universal, you could say.
So he's not really playing by the same rule book, which I guess makes his appearance in the story even more intriguing.
You got it. And hold on, because it gets better. What's even more remarkable is how Melchizedek greets Abram. It's not like this wary standoff between rival kings or even just, hey, nice battle, congrats. No, he comes out with this incredible blessing. I mean, listen to this.
Yeah.
Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has defeated your enemies for you.
Okay, so that's not your average good game handshake. Those are some loaded words.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
It's a huge statement. Melchizedek is acknowledging Abram's faith, sure, and his victory. But he frames it in this much bigger way, you see. He's not just saying, your God helped you out. It's God Most High, the creator of heaven and earth. This isn't just some tribal deity. This is cosmic power we're talking about.
Whoa, okay, I see what you mean. It's like Melchizedek is saying, dude, look at the bigger picture. You put your trust in something way bigger than yourself, and look what happened.
Exactly. And Abram, to his credit, he gets it. You can tell he understands the weight of this blessing because he turns around and does something really unexpected.
He gives Melchizedek 1/10 of everything. All the spoils from the battle.
1/10 of everything.
Hold on, this isn't just like a thanks for the good words kind of gesture, right? This is tithing, which, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that was a really big deal, religiously speaking.
Huge GE deal.
Yeah.
It signifies so much devotion, gratitude, acknowledging that there's a power above you, and not just acknowledging it, but honoring it. And here's what blows my mind. Think about this. Abram offers this to Melchizedek, who, let's remember, is not part of Abram's family tree, his beliefs, nothing. It's this incredibly powerful testament to the kind of faith Abram had won that was open to seeing the divine in the most unexpected places.
It's like something out of a movie, I mean, you've got Abram fresh off this crazy military victory. He could be totally in it for himself. But instead of claiming the spoils, he chooses to honor this, almost otherworldly figure.
It really makes you think, right, about the nature of faith, what it really means to be devout. And it says something about Abram, doesn't it? About his character, that he responds this way.
Totally. And speaking of things that make you think, we can't just gloss over the setting here. I mean, Salem.
Oh, yeah. We're not talking about your average rest stop on the ancient history highway, right? This is Salem.
Which eventually, as we know, becomes Jerusalem, one of the most important cities, ever. But here, in Abram's time, it's this weird blank space on the map, almost.
It's like trying to find the address of a myth. What was Salem, really? Was it an actual city? Like bricks and mortar, city walls, the whole 9 yards? Or was it something, more symbolic? like a representation of an ideal, a place of peace, maybe.
See, that's what gets me. It's like this extra layer on top of the whole encounter, right? Melchizedek shows up out of nowhere, this guy who doesn't fit into any religious structure we know about, blesses Abram in this crazy spiritual way.
And then just disappears back into the mist.
Exactly. It's like a dream sequence inside this already epic story.
And that, I think, is why this story is so powerful. Because it's not just some dry historical account. It grabs you, and it makes you think about these huge questions like, what is faith? What is destiny? What is the divine even?
And the best part is, even though we don't have all the answers, like even though we might never know exactly who Melchizedek was or what Salem looked like, just asking these questions, it changes how you see the story. It makes it fresh, And that, to me, that's what makes a deep dive like this so worth it.
It's a good reminder that exploring, questioning, is just as important as having the answer. Sometimes more important.
100%. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Abram's rescue of Lot, I hope you're walking away with a little bit of a different perspective on this story. Because Abram, he wasn't just a shepherd, a man of faith. He was a strategic mastermind, tough negotiator, and he knew how to recognize power, even when it came from the most unexpected places. So keep thinking about Melchizedek, about that mysterious city of Salem. Let those questions guide you, and who knows what you'll discover out there.